Hello, my name is Brian Wheeler, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing two movies, Get Out and Bird Box. More specifically, analyzing how the characters Rod and Douglas act as voices of reasons within their respective movies. I want to take a deep dive into why and how these characters were set up to be misunderstood in the eyes of the characters that surround them, and how, in hindsight, they offered solutions to the problems presented in the movies, despite being secondary characters. From the very beginning of Get Out, Rod has suspicions of Rose and her family and tries to convince Chris that meeting Rose's family is a bad idea, but Chris shrugs off the suggestion very decisively, to where it transitions to a scene where Rose defends Chris in front of the police, possibly trying to persuade to the audience and to Chris that there's nothing to worry about with Rose. This is also showcased at the conversation Rod and Chris share after Chris had been hypnotized by Rose's mother and finishes his first day at the family's house. Chris agrees that the hypnosis was weird and the black people he had seen at the house had been acting strange, but refuses to believe the accusations Rod explains about the other black people being hypnotized and kept as slaves. In the end, fortunately, Rod is able to come to Chris's rescue as Chris barely makes it out alive of the house, and this is only because Rod listened to his instincts even if nobody else would. In Bird Box, Douglas's tone is very angry and resentful, and that's because mostly of what happened to his loved one early on in the movie when she tried to help Mallory in the midst of the chaos, but then ended up dying at the hands of the demon. This results in most of his credibility being taken away from main characters like Mallory or Tom, and results in his advice being taken for granted in The Time for Survival. Douglas continually preaches that everyone from the outside cannot be trusted, and yet one by one the group lets people in until finally they let Gary in, and his premonition is finally justified. Even though everyone the group had let in before had been fine, it all came crashing down when all those people turned on Douglas and resulted in the death of almost everyone in the house, including Douglas. Both Douglas and Rod hold the answers for the characters around them, but because they are misunderstood, they struggle with making others as aware and result in many characters paying the price.